Viongozi wanainama, wanainuka, wanaona hili, wanatoroka. Kazi tumeona, ile ametenda, wanainama, wanainuka, wanaona hili, wanatoroka. Kazi amefanya, tano pete na kazi amefanya, tano pete na kazi amefanya, tano pete na.
See how as a county and as a country we can be able to do our little part so that we all contribute towards managing the huge mental burden that our country continues to experience. But before we come to the tough issues, allow me to recognize the board that has been working together with the management for running the hospital, and to say that we appreciate the small changes that have brought about better quality, better services, and so that our patients can live in better conditions. I personally have been to this ward as a visitor, and I know the conditions that were there back in the years. So every time we come here, we appreciate small milestones that go a long way to improve the lives of our people. And also to say that mental health has been forgotten largely in the country, partly because the victims of mental health don't have a voice. And even when they try to do it, the fear of stigma is normally very high. So for that reason, they end up getting lost. And therefore, you'll find hospitals building maternities and everything else, but the mental health remains highly dilapidated. I was quite touched to find a patient all the way from Embu, a patient from Bungoma, a patient from wherever. And that just goes a long way to explain that mental health facilities are not as available as other conditions, and that therefore much more needs to be done. Allow me also to mention that in all the departments of the hospital, if I wanted to go to a place where I would feel happy and entertained, the mental side would be the last one. But I have liked the choir also. Yeah? And I think it just goes a long way to tell us that if they're given support, they can lead as normal a life as possible. If you condemn them without medication, without treatment, without professional counseling, then you are actually condemning them to a life of wastes, a life of regret, and a lot of other life-related issues will be at stake. So I want to thank the doctors and also to pass a plea to our young people. As we were talking to some of them, out of about 8 who are seated, about 5 said that they are here because they were consuming substances such as cannabis and pombe. Is it mzinga? Correct? So it is substance-induced, medical conditions. And if you have a history from home where you have psychosis or bipolar, the moment you now become a partaker of these things, inalipuka immediately. So I really would want to urge our young people. It is really sad to see a 24-year-old, a 23-year-old, and once some of these things get started, they'll keep recurring as we go on. So even as we mark Mental Health Day, I think our biggest message must be, to those who have not started, don't. If you come from a family with a history of medical challenges, mental challenges, please keep off alcohol, keep off drugs. I'm not there for recommending those with no mental challenges to take, but I'm just saying those, especially from those circumstances, must be more than careful. I have visited my mental hospital here in Gilgil also, and the same story is replicated. Especially for the young men, the challenge is often to do with consumption of those substances. And I also want to challenge them, because some of them are due for release. When you go back home, become the champions of mental health. So that mwambie wenzenyu wale ambao wanavuta hizo vitu waache, kwa sababu hata wao tutawangojea hapa ward 8. That's the only way we can stop the cycle. That we deal with it from source, and also to take up the challenge that some of them may not necessarily require mental treatment, but just rehabilitation, so they can be off the drugs and they stop congesting our facilities here. So we shall work to see how some of those can be expanded. Then obviously my doctors have told me that there are many instances when a patient has been treated and is fully recovered and you want to release them, but the community from where they come from is not ready to absorb them. So again, that is a major complication for our healthcare system, because you end up holding a patient for a month, a year, and even years, because the community is not ready to reintegrate with their family members just because of stigma associated with mental health. So again, a lot needs to be done. We need to engage our social workers so that they can talk to the families where they come from. But I think even if they're not in our immediate family, if it's from your place of work and one of your colleagues had a mental situation, when they are back, reintegrate them and help them settle. By stigmatizing them, you're making their circumstances worse. And you could even now lead to even worse situations. So I think as a society, we must find ways of trying to reverse some of the huge biases and prejudices that we hold against mental health. I'm also happy to note that we have patients from out of this country, from Burundi, Rwanda, Tanzania, and other places. And while we shall seek to see how they can be repatriated to their country, I think it just goes a long way to testify that health is universal. In other words, there is also another Kenyan in Dar es Salaam, also in a hospital in these circumstances. There is another one in Kampala in this situation. So the idea of repatriation may be a good idea so that they can get back to their family, but mental issues are borderless. They are tribeless, they are countyless, and I think that's a conversation we need to have, that we need to work with them. But I'm happy that they have all told me that they are getting good treatment and that they are happy with the support they are getting as patients. Now, lastly, is also to confirm that in recent days, there have been major challenges that have also complicated our mental circumstances. We all remember the COVID pandemic and the resultant challenges to families. You had somebody employed maybe in the hotel sector, that was all their livelihood, and for one reason or the other, they were laid off. Others working in other sectors were completely laid off, other businesses went off. And therefore, for the last 2-3 years, there have been years of very serious sort of stress-inducing circumstances. Not to add economic situations that we are in. And therefore, we do appreciate that you're in challenging times, but all we are sure is that there will be no day when those challenges will not be there. It is us to find ways of adapting to them. And this allow me also to take this opportunity to urge members of the public to be also on the lookout for colleagues, friends, and relatives, so that whenever they realize symptoms that may indicate a mental challenge, we are able to pick them. More often than not, we wait until there is such drama, and things have happened. That is when we are picking somebody as having been going through challenges. We have seen it with our police forces, where one day we hear a policeman has taken a gun and he has finished everybody. But they were going through this situation, but the people living around them could not pick some of those challenges. So I think we all have a responsibility to help those we live with, those we are working with, and to ensure that whenever they require mental support, we are ready to give them without judging them. And lastly, especially for my menfolk, it is not wrong to seek counseling. It is not womanly or feminine, because sometimes we go by this phrase of tujikaza kama. Tujikaza kama? So hii inafika mwisho ya wanaume saa ingine. So you need to know when to seek medical attention. And I'm saying that because some resort to drugs, others resort to the mzingas, we were told, and many other issues. And therefore, instead of solving the problem, you escalate it and it even gets worse. But with those few comments, again, allow me to say that as a county and even personally, we are very committed to mental health because we know it can be a major hindrance to achieving other health goals. And therefore, as we plan for all the other sectors, due attention must also be given to health, and that we need to be also ahead of the game and also put more effort in the prevention of mental conditions, as has been the case in the past. I want to end there, and once again to thank all of you who are here and for participating in this day. We hope that in the days to come, our hospital in Gilgil is earmarked for a major transformation, and we are working with the national government to put up a facility for about 250 million shillings that will be the second biggest after Mathare Mental Hospital in Nairobi. And this goes a long way just to underscore the importance of mental health, so that when they are here, they are not just caged in one corner. They can be in a place. I've seen some who can even teach, some who can sing, some who can play. So we should give them an environment that does not condemn them, but that gives them an opportunity for recovery and exploitation of their God-given talents.
I take this opportunity to thank you, Your Excellency, for being here today. As you have seen, mental health is a very important aspect of our life. You never know when you'll either find yourself there or find your relative in such a state. So why we have this campaign or a month, May is a month of mental awareness, is to educate people that mental illness is a disease like any other. It can be treated, and you can go back to society and give back to society. And also telling people that you can support. If you support the people we saw inside there, they'll be able to come home and be part of their families, take care of their children and families. So we thank you so much for being present here today. What I would wish to also call upon all of us, as you go outside this month, let's really educate people. Because when in society, most of the time, when you see people walking outside there and they are not okay, we believe, yeah, ni wazimu, na hawezi fanyiwa nini? Chochote. Or hawezi saidiwa. But we've seen that somebody can be changed by being brought to a hospital, rehabilitated, and then taken back to society. Let's preach that mental illness can be treated.
It is a very special day for us because we have two things that we want to celebrate in one. One is the expansion of our psychiatric wing, of which this has never happened since the year 1961. This psychiatry wing has been functioning in a very dilapidated status, but we are glad that today we have not only a psychiatric wing, but something we can call a home to our patients. Second, we all know that internationally we have the Mental Health Awareness Month, the month of May. So this is a celebration that is ongoing worldwide. Karibuni sana to our facility. I'll briefly take us through what we go through as a daily routine in this facility, especially in our Ward 8 or the Psychiatry Wing. This year's theme for our Mental Health Awareness Day is Back to Basics. It looks very simple, but when you sit down and actually reflect upon it, it is a theme that holds a lot of weight. We cannot move forward if we don't go back to basics, if we don't look into our basics. One of our core mandates in this facility is to offer all kinds of service delivery, which includes psychiatry treatment or mental health treatment. Our second goal in our facility is to ensure that all our staffs as well are taken care of, not only physically, but also mentally, and also we promote spiritual well-being of each and every one of us. The third mandate that we usually have is that as a facility or as healthcare workers, we act as a bridge. As you have gone around, you've noticed that many of our patients cannot either speak for themselves, they do not have a voice for themselves. So we act as a bridge between the patient and their families and even the community at large. Therefore, mental health refers not only to our emotional, but also to our social well-being. And it impacts how we think, how we feel, and how we behave. It plays a very important role on the decisions we make in our day-to-day life. Most of the times, we never understand mental health. We don't even know what are the factors that cause it. Unfortunately, there are very, very many. These patients are here either because of a single cause or multiple causes. Whichever the case, we need to be their advocates, and we need to realize even ourselves can be candidates. Not only today, but in the future, we can be candidates and we can be patients in that ward. And that is why, as the hospital management team, we thought it will only be prudent and only human to make sure that they are in a situation where we also would wish our loved ones to be in. I'd like to highlight one of our first patients whom we treated in the year 1962, who is still alive and still comes and attends a psychiatry clinic, and also time to time again gets admitted in our facility. He's a gentleman with the name Comet from Marigat, more than 80 years old. He still attends his clinic. We still take care of him. That is a living testimony that all of us have a role in taking care of our patients. Currently, we have more than 50 patients. And as you walked around, Your Excellency, you noticed that we also have foreigners from Tanzania, from Burundi. We also have patients from other counties. Most of them do not know their homes. Most of them have been abandoned. Therefore, it is my kind request to request your office and your government to look into a way, because as a facility, we are here to offer treatment when they are unwell. But what happens to them when they get well? They do not have homes to go back to. They do not have relatives nor friends to look up to. Can we look into getting a home for them or a shelter whereby they can be taken care of after receiving their treatment? Some other requests I'd like to briefly mention before I close my remarks is on matters human resource. We know that psychiatry is a specialized area. There's a group that after these remarks, I'd like them to stand, the pioneers. They have really taken us through this treatment that we give these patients. I'd like also to call upon our partners, our learning institutions around Egerton University, KMTC. Let us train our nurses, our clinical officers in these specialized areas. We have now become a referral hospital. We should move our services from basic treatment to specialized and even super specialties, so that we stop referring patients outside our county to Nairobi or even to Eldoret. I'd also like to take this opportunity. We know that through the universal health care, we have been having indigents being enrolled countrywide. We all know what our patients are going through, and I believe they fall under the cadre of indigents. If maybe we can have a conscious effort towards or driving towards having them enrolled in NHIF, so that once this patient gets the much required treatment, they can actually go home, or in the future have a home where they can go back to within our county. We also call upon, through your office, Your Excellency, if we can have collaboration with other embassies. As we have seen, we have foreigners. If we can have them repatriated back home, we know that all these countries, they have their own facilities, healthcare structures. If you can have them back home, be taken care of where they can reach out to their families and so on and so forth, it will be a plus to all of us.